Imagine being so hungry that you'd eat a live cat. Now imagine that still wasn't enough. This is a true story of Tarrare, the French soldier whose appetite knew absolutely no limits or boundaries. He didn't just eat food. He ate corks, stones, live animals, and then a baby went missing. Welcome back to Ancient Anomalies, where we uncover history's most disturbing and unexplained true stories. Our story begins in France, during the chaos of the Revolutionary Wars in the late 1790s, a time of bloodshed and desperation. Tarrare was born into poverty, and from childhood, something was terribly, horrifyingly wrong with him that no one could explain. As a teenager, he could devour a quarter of a bullock's weight in beef in a single davets, roughly 50 pounds of meat. His parents, poor and terrified, couldn't afford to feed this bottomless pit of hunger, so they kicked him out as a teenager, desperate then starving. Tarrare joined a traveling group of performers and thieves where he became a grotesque sideshow attraction across France. He would swallow corks, stones, live animals, and entire baskets of apples in minutes, to the shock and disgust of paying crowds. But when war broke out, even this grotesque carnival life fell apart, and Tarrare found himself enlisted in the Revolutionary Army. The military rations were nowhere near enough. He would scour the camp for scraps, eating garbage, offal, and anything remotely edible he found. His fellow soldiers were both fascinated and horrified, watching this gaunt man with the shark's mouth devour things that would make others violently ill. His hunger became so severe that he eventually collapsed from exhaustion and malnutrition, despite eating everything he could possibly find around the camp. He was rushed to the military field hospital, where doctors encountered something they had never seen before in all their years of practice. The head surgeon, Dr. Pierre-Francois Percy, examined Tarrare and was immediately struck by the patient's unusual and deeply disturbing physical characteristics and proportions. When Tarrare fasted, his skin hung in loose, disgusting folds around his body like melted wax, especially around his abdomen and waist area. But when he ate, his stomach would expand to absolutely monstrous proportions, distending like a massive grotesque balloon pressing against his ribs. His mouth could open wider than any human mouth should, revealing rows of stained, yellowed teeth that witnesses compared to a shark's terrifying maw. Dr. Percy noted that Tarrare's body constantly emitted a revolting, putrid odor that could be smelled from several yards away in every direction. The stench was so overpowering and nauseating that other patients in the hospital ward complained constantly and demanded he be moved to isolation immediately. Fascinated by this medical anomaly, Dr. Percy decided to conduct a series of experiments to understand the true extent of Tarrare's impossible condition. In the first test, they gave Tarrare a meal intended for 15 sols, a massive amount of bread, meat, and vegetables that should satisfy many men. Tarrare devoured all of it in less than 15 minutes, barely chewing, swallowing chunks whole like a wild animal feeding in pure desperation. He immediately demanded more food. The doctors, shocked but scientifically curious, watched as his stomach ballooned outward to horrifying, unnatural proportions before their very eyes. In another experiment, they gave him a live cat. Without hesitation or mercy, Tarrare tore it apart and ate the entire animal raw, including bones and fur. The doctors watched in absolute horror and morbid fascination as he consumed puppies, snakes, lizards, and anything alive they presented to him without any hesitation whatsoever. Despite consuming quantities of food that would kill a normal person, Tarrare showed no signs of satisfaction, fullness, or even basic contentment after eating massive amounts. His body would digest everything at an impossible rate, and within hours, he'd be desperately hungry again, begging the staff for anything to consume or eat. The militari, hearing about this bizarre case, saw a potential opportunity to use Tarrare's unusual condition for espionage and intelligence operations behind enemy lines. General Alexander de Beauharnais devised a plan. Tarrare would swallow a small wooden box containing secret military documents and smuggle them through enemy territory undetected. The box was sealed, and Tarrare swallowed it whole without difficulty. 2 days later, he successfully passed it, and the documents inside were completely intact and readable. Impressed by this success, the French military sent Tarrare on an actual espionage mission deep into Prussian-held territory across enemy lines with crucial intelligence documents. But Tarrare didn't speak German, and his appearance and the horrific smell emanating from his body made him immediately suspicious to Prussian guards at the checkpoint. He was captured, interrogated, and after they discovered the wooden box inside him through forced purgatives, he was beaten severely and sent back to French lines. His career as a spy ended in complete failure, and Tarrare returned to the military hospital, more desperate and hungry than ever before in his miserable life. Dr. Percy, still fascinated by this medical mystery, attempted various treatments to cure or at least control Tarrare's insatiable and terrifying appetite without much success. They tried wine, vinegar, tobacco pills, laudanum, and soft-boiled eggs in massive quantities, but nothing worked. Nothing could suppress his monstrous, endless hunger at all. Tarrare continued to roam the hospital at night, desperately searching for any source of food, any scrap of sustenance he could find in the darkness. He was caught multiple times drinking blood from patients in the bloodletting room and eating the putrid poultices from the hospital's suppurating wound station without any disgust. The hospital staff began to fear him, this gaunt figure with a shark's mouth who would eat absolutely anything, Libyan or dead, fresh or rotting. He was caught sneaking into the morgue on several occasions, and there were unconfirmed reports that he attempted to eat the corpses stored there for medical examination purposes. Patients began hiding their personal belongings and food, terrified that this monster in human form would steal and devour anything left unguarded in the hospital wards. Then, one day, in 1790, something truly horrifying happened that would seal Tarrare's fate forever and turn him into a suspected monster beyond any redemption. A 14-month-old toddler, the child of a hospital staff member, disappeared without a trace from the hospital grounds, vanishing as if into thin air overnight. While everyone slept, every single person in the hospital immediately suspected Tarrare, the man who had eaten live animals and drunk human blood without any hesitation or moral restraint. Dr. Percy confronted Tarrare directly, demanding to know if he had eaten the missing child, searching his face for any sign of guilt or deception in this matter. Tarrare denied it emphatically, crying and swearing he hadn't touched the child. But his reputation and past behavior made his protests completely unconvincing to everyone present. No evidence was ever found connecting him to the disappearance. No remains, no proof of any kind, but the suspicion alone was enough to condemn him completely. The hospital staff, patients, and doctors formed an angry mob and forcibly expelled Tarrare from the military hospital, threatening violence if he ever returned to the premises again. He fled into the streets of France, alone, starving, and now branded as a monster, a suspected child editor outcasted from even the desperate world of military medicine. For the next year, Tarrare wandered France as an outcast, his condition worsening, his hunger growing even more impossible to control or satisfy in any way whatsoever. In 1798, just 1 year after his expulsion from the hospital, Tarrare collapsed in the streets of Versailles and was taken to another hospital, dying in delirium. He was suffering from advanced tuberculosis, his body finally giving out after years of abuse, starvation, and the mysterious condition that had defined his entire tragic existence. Tarrare died at approximately 26 years old, having lived one of the most bizarre, grotesque, and tragic lives in all of recorded medical history worldwide. Dr. Tessia, the attending physician in Versailles, performed an autopsy on Tarrare's body, and what he discovered inside was absolutely beyond anything medical science had ever encountered before. Tarrare's esophagus was grotesquely wide, so enlarged that when Dr. Tessier looked down into it, he could see all the way down into the stomach cavity below without obstruction. His stomach was absolutely enormous, filling almost the entire abdominal cavity like a massive deflated leather sack, with ulcers and lesions covering its interior surface completely and extensively. His liver was abnormally large and covered in spots. His gallbladder was distended to an unnatural size, and his intestines were covered in pus and putrid decay. The stench from his opened corpse was so overwhelmingly putrid that the autopsy team had to evacuate the room multiple times to breathe fresh air outside before continuing the examination. Dr. Tessia documented everything meticulously, but even with his detailed medical notes, the true cause of Tarrare's condition remained completely unknown and unexplainable by science at that time. The medical report on Tarrare's autopsy became one of the most famous and disturbing documents in medical history, studied by doctors and scientists for centuries after his death worldwide. Modern medical researchers have attempted to diagnose Tarrare's condition retroactively using the detailed autopsy reports and contemporary witness accounts from the late 1790s. Some experts believe he may have suffered from hyperthyroidism, an overactive thyroid gland that dramatically increases metabolism and creates insatiable hunger and appetite. Others suggest damage to the hypothalamus region of the brain, which controls hunger signals, possibly causing him to never feel satiated or full regardless of consumption. Prader-Willi syndrome has been proposed, a genetic disorder causing chronic hunger, developmental delays, and behavioral problems. Though this doesn't fully explain all his symptoms and characteristics, some researchers even suggest a massive tapeworm or parasitic infection could have caused his endless hunger. Though no parasites were mentioned in the official autopsy report, the truth is, despite 227 years of medical advancement, we still don't know exactly what was wrong with Tarrare, or what caused his horrific condition. His case remains one of the most bizarre, disturbing, and unexplained medical mysteries in all of human history. A puzzle that continues to fascinate researchers today. As for the missing 14-month-old child, the baby's disappearance was never solved. The remains were never found, and the truth died with Tarrare himself in that hospital. Was Tarrare a victim of a tragic medical condition, suffering through a life of constant agony, hunger, and social rejection that he couldn't control or understand himself? Or was he truly a monster who crossed the ultimate taboo of humanity and consumed a helpless infant in a moment of uncontrollable, animalistic hunger and desperation? We'll never know the complete truth, but Tarrare's story serves as a haunting reminder of how mysterious and terrifying the human body can truly become under unknown circumstances. His life was marked by suffering, rejection, exploitation, and ultimately suspicion of the worst crime imaginable, and he died alone, branded forever as a monster. If you found this dark chapter of history as fascinating and disturbing as we did, please like this video and subscribe to Ancient Anomalies for more content. We uncover the strangest, most unexplained, and most disturbing true stories from history that most people have never heard about before, stories that deserve remembering. Leave a comment below telling us what historical mystery or anomaly you'd like us to investigate next. We read every single comment and take suggestions seriously. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode of Ancient Anomalies, where history's darkest secrets are finally brought to light. Until next time, remember, the past is far stranger and more disturbing than any fiction, and some mysteries will haunt us forever across centuries.